Okay, so I want to start today by reading you a little snippet from a newspaper.
Oh, okay.
It's from a weekly paper in Santa Cruz, California, and it's talking about, like, a local university expansion plan. The article is titled, David versus Goliath, Round 1. Ready.
I am ready. Lay it on me.
Okay, so here's the opening line. Hidden in the shadows of a massive election year, tucked under the sheets of a war gone awry and a highway scuffle, another battle has been brewing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Very dramatic. That is some serious noir journalism for what's basically a zoning dispute.
Right. It flows, and it sounds like good journalism, but let's just hit pause for a second. Hidden in the shadows of a massive election year. Do election years actually cast physical shadows?
Strictly speaking, no. I mean, they're time periods, not, physical objects blocking the sun.
And what about tucked under the sheets of a war? Do wars have bed sheets?
I certainly hope not. That would just be a logistical nightmare.
Exactly. But here's the thing. When I first read that, I didn't stumble. I didn't stop and think, wait, that's weird. My brain just got it. I understood the bigness of the election and the hiddenness of the local issue, instantly.
And that is exactly what we're diving into today.
Yeah, that's the mission.
We are looking at the machinery under the hood of your brain. Specifically, how we process figurative language metaphors, irony, idioms, all of it.
Do we have some kind of special switch in our heads that flips from literal mode to figurative mode?
Or is it all just language?
To help us navigate this, we're unpacking a really fascinating chapter on psycholinguistics by Raymond Gibbs and Herbert Colston.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, the science here completely upends what I thought I knew about how we speak.
Oh, it really does. And to go back to your newspaper example for a second, it highlights the core conflict we're dealing with.
Which is it?
Which is that defining the difference between literal and figurative is actually a nightmare for scientists.
Yeah, okay, look at that last phrase I read. Another battle has been brewing. Now, coffee brews.
Beer brews?
Do battles, bro.
Well, we say they do all the time.
Right, but is that figurative? Is it a metaphor comparing an argument to, I don't know, fermentation? Or has the word brewing just sort of changed its definition to mean slowly developing?
That is the million-dollar question. It's that huge gray area of language.
Or like the phrase, the bottom line.
Right.
If an accountant says it, it's literal, the line at the bottom of the ledger.
Profit or loss, yeah.
But if a politician says, the bottom line is we need more votes, it's figurative. But in ordinary life, you don't pause to categorize it. You just understand.
So if we don't pause, does the brain treat them differently? Because I feel like I learned in school that metaphors are these fancy, decorations you add to language.
Yeah, me too. Which implies they're harder to understand.
For a long time, the scientific community totally agreed with you. This was known as the standard pragmatic view, and it was established largely by H. Paul Grice.
Okay, so let's unpack that. The standard view. How was the brain supposed to work, according to this theory?
The old assumption was a serial process, a step-by-step assembly line.
Okay.
Step 1. The brain hears a sentence and analyzes the literal meaning.
So it takes the words at face value first, no matter what.
Exactly. Then, step 2. It checks that literal meaning against the context, against reality. So if I say to you, you're a fine friend after you just spilled hot coffee on my laptop.
Okay, so your brain first processes the literal meaning, he thinks I am a good friend.
And then?
Then step 3 is the rejection.
Right. The brain realizes, wait, I just ruined his computer. The literal meaning is false. So it rejects the literal meaning, and then it initiates a search for a figurative alternative. In this case, irony.
So it's like a fail-safe.
Yeah.
Try literal, fail, reboot, then try figurative.
Precisely. And the implication of this theory is massive. It implies that figurative language should always take longer to understand than literal language.
Because of that extra step.
Because of that extra cognitive hoop you have to jump through.
That makes a lot of logical sense. It seems efficient, have a standard mode and an exception mode.
Yeah.
But you're using the past tense. You said was the assumption.
I did. Because psycholinguistics came along and just busted that myth wide open.
I love a good myth busting. So we don't do the step-by-step thing.
The evidence suggests we don't. When researchers actually timed people, looking at how fast they read and understood these phrases in milliseconds, they found something amazing.
What?
When the context is right, people understand figurative phrases just as fast as literal ones.
That's fast.
Sometimes even faster.
Wait, faster. That seems impossible if we're doing that translation work you mentioned.
Well, think about an idiom like, John kicked the bucket.
Okay, meaning John died.
Right. When you hear that, do you first visualize a man physically striking a plastic pail with his foot? then realize that makes no sense, and then translate it to died.
No, no, not at all. I just hear kick the bucket and my brain goes straight to died
Yeah.
immediately.
Exactly. You access the meaning directly. There is no error signal step. Your brain doesn't waste time on the pail.
So the standard view was just wrong.
It assumed we are literal machines first and poetic machines second. The evidence suggests we are just meaning machines. We grab whatever meaning is most accessible.
That blows my mind a little. So all those English teachers telling us that metaphors are these complex decorations, our brains are actually processing them like any other data stream.
It's just efficient. Now, there is a nuance here.
Right.
Novel metaphors, ones you've never heard before, they do take longer to process.
Okay, so if I say, the soul is a rope that ties the anchor of the earth to the balloon of heaven.
That might take a second.
Yeah.
I made that up just now. It's pretty deep, right?
It is pretty deep, but, and this is the key thing, it takes longer not because your brain is rejecting the literal meaning first.
Okay, so why then? It takes longer because integrating a brand new complex idea is just hard work, period. It would be just as hard if I explained a complex, literal, scientific concept to you for the first time, like quantum entanglement.
So it's a difficulty tax, not a figurative tax.
That is a perfect way to put it. The delay is about the concept, not the category of language.
Okay, so if the standard view, that serial processing model, is out, what replaced it? How do we think the brain is actually pulling this off so fast?
We have a few computing models, but one of the leading theories is called the constraint-satisfaction model.
Constraint-satisfaction. Sounds like a customer service survey. Were you satisfied with your constraints today?
It's actually much cooler. So instead of a serial process step A, then step B, imagine a competition, like a crowded courtroom or a marketplace.
Okay.
The brain runs a parallel race. It weighs multiple cues all at once. It looks at the syntax, the frequency of the words, the context, what it knows about the speaker's intent.
So it's not literal versus figurative, it's just what fits best.
Right. All these potential meanings, literal, metaphorical, ironic, they all compete for activation. And the one that satisfies the most constraints, the one that fits the context and the words best, that one wins.
And it happens in milliseconds?
In milliseconds.
Right.
So if you're at a bar and I say, another battle is brewing, your brain looks at the context.
An argument is starting.
Right. And the word brewing, which is often used for arguments, and boom, it instantly picks the figurative meaning because it wins the competition.
The literal meaning of boiling water doesn't even get a look in.
It doesn't stand a chance. It's suppressed before it even bubbles up to your consciousness.
There's another model mentioned in the source material, the graded salience hypothesis. That sounds fancy. What's the breakdown there?
This one comes from a researcher named Rachel Giora. Her argument is that the brain is efficient or, maybe a little lazy, depending on how you look at it.
I like lazy.
It just grabs the most salient or prominent meaning first.
And salient doesn't necessarily mean literal.
No, and that's the big shift. Salient just means the most common or familiar meaning stored in your memory.
So a metaphor could be more salient.
It can be. If a metaphor is super familiar, like step on someone's toes, the figurative meaning, to offend someone, is actually more salient than the literal meaning of crushing a foot.
So we get the metaphor instantly because it's like the VIP guest in our brain.
Correct. It skips the line. But if the metaphor is obscure, the literal meaning might be the VIP, so we fall back on that first. It explains why we process familiar idioms so fast, they are the salient meaning.
I like that. It's all about what's top of mind. There was one more model that sounded a bit hazy. Underspecification.
Yeah.
This felt like a cheat code for the brain.
This one is fascinating. The idea here is that when we first hear a word, the brain might not pick a specific definition at all. It grabs a vague, broad meaning, an underspecified one.
Like a low-resolution photo.
That's a great analogy, exactly. So if I say, the woman disarmed the critic, your brain might initially just grab the concept of taking away a threat. It doesn't decide yet if she physically took a gun, the literal meaning, or if she used charm, the figurative one. It just waits for the rest in the sentence to sharpen the focus.
That is so efficient. Just grab the gist and fill in the details later.
It completely sidesteps the whole literal first debate. It just says, I'll figure out the details later if I need to.
So we know how the brain does it. It's fast, it's parallel, it's smart.
Yeah.
But I want to ask why. Why do we even bother? If John blew a stack just means John got angry, why not just say John got angry? It feels like we're making it harder for ourselves.
This is what we call the paraphrase fallacy.
The paraphrase fallacy?
Yeah, we assume that a figurative phrase and its literal translation mean the same thing, but psycholinguistics tells us they absolutely do not.
Give me an example.
Let's stick with John blew his stack. If I tell you that versus Jaron got very angry, are you picturing the same thing?
Not really, no. Blew his stack feels sudden. It's explosive, like he lost control. Got angry. Could be a slow burn. It could be like silent resentment.
Exactly. Studies show that the idiom conveys distinct information. Suddenness, lack of control, internal pressure. You lose all that data when you paraphrase.
So the metaphor packs more data density.
It's high-density information. Let's look at a darker example from the source. My surgeon is a butcher.
Oof. That is terrifying. That hits you in the gut.
Now, literally, that's impossible, but paraphrase it. My surgeon is crude and sloppy.
Yeah, crude and sloppy is bad, but butcher. Butcher implies he treats me like a piece of meat. It implies hacking. It might even imply malice. It makes me scared.
Precisely. The metaphor triggers a whole cascade of cognitive effects, fear, imagery of raw meat, a lack of empathy that the literal phrase just can't touch.
It's emotional shorthand.
It is, and it works for social dynamics, too. Think about irony. If someone completely messes up a project and you say, that was bad, that's a criticism.
Right.
But if you say, wow, great job, research shows it can actually be more cutting.
Oh, totally. The sarcasm stings more. It feels more personal.
It enhances the condemnation. But what's interesting is that figurative language can also protect the speaker. If I say, well, let sleeping dogs lie, I'm not just giving my opinion.
You're quoting a proverb.
I'm quoting a proverb. I'm shifting the responsibility to cultural wisdom.
It's like saying, hey, don't look at me. Look at the ancient wisdom. It's a shield.
Exactly. And of course, there's the bonding aspect.
Yeah.
Metaphor and irony are so often used to signal in-group status. It's banter. If we share the same inside jokes and metaphors, we're a tribe.
It's the secret handshake of language. But surely there's a limit. If I speak entirely in riddles, you're just going to get annoyed.
That brings us to relevance theory. Think of communication as a kind of economic exchange.
Okay.
You have cognitive effort, how hard your brain has to work, and cognitive effects, the payoff in insight, humor, or emotion.
So I'll only pay the effort tax if the effect payoff is high enough.
Exactly. If you use a complex poetic metaphor, I expect a rich, beautiful insight. If I do all that work and the meaning is just pass the salt, I'm going to be irritated.
Don't make me think unless it's going to be good.
We accept hard-to-process language only when the richness of meaning is worth the extra brain power.
That makes total sense. Now, I want to move to what I think is the trippiest part of this research, the real-world influences. The source talks about a tetrahedral model, which sounds like a spaceship.
It does, but it basically just means context matters. A lot.
Okay.
So processing depends on the participants, the task, the material, and the context. It's not a vacuum.
Let's talk about the participants. Who is listening changes how we process.
It does. There's research suggesting gender differences. Some studies show men may use figurative language more to describe other people's emotions, while women might use it more to describe their own feelings.
Interesting. And occupation matters too.
Hugely. If you're a comedian or you're known for being sarcastic, people process your irony faster. Your reputation primes their brain. They expect the twist.
But the part that really got me was embodied cognition. The idea that our physical bodies actually change how we understand metaphors. There was a study about time and moving trains.
This is one of my favorite studies in the field. Boroditsky and Ramskar.
Oh.
So they presented people with a deliberately ambiguous sentence. Next Wednesday's meeting has been moved forward 2 days.
Okay, next Wednesday's meeting has been moved forward 2 days.
Okay.
So does that mean the meeting is now on Friday? Or is it on Monday?
What do you think?
Move forward. I'd say Friday. I'm moving forward into the future.
A lot of people say that. But if you view time as coming towards you, like a river, forward might mean closer to you, which would be Monday.
Whoa. Okay, so it's ambiguous.
Totally ambiguous. So the researchers went to a lunch line and a train station to test this.
A lunch line.
A lunch line, yep. They found that people who were physically moving forward, like stepping forward in that lunch line or riding on a train, were more likely to view time as moving with them.
No way. So just because their bodies were moving forward, they interpreted moved forward as Friday.
Yes. Their physical momentum influenced their abstract understanding of time. If you are moving through space, you drag your concept of time along with you.
That is wild. So we don't just think with our brains, we think with our bodies.
We do. Our sensorimotor experience, how we move, how hungry we are, it shapes how we interpret language.
Seriously.
Yeah, there's even research that if you are hungry, you use and understand metaphors about desire like, I hunger for fame, differently.
That gives a whole new meaning to food for thought.
Indeed. And it extends to the materials we use, too. Take irony. Irony works best when there is a strong contrast.
The weather example.
Right. If there's a hurricane outside, trees snapping, rain lashing down, and I say, what a lovely day, you process that irony instantly. It's funny because the contrast is huge.
But if it's just drizzling.
If it's just a mild drizzle and I say, what a lovely day, your brain actually takes longer. Is he being sarcastic or does he just like rain? The contrast is weak, so the processing is slower.
So comedy really is tragedy plus time. Or maybe just tragedy plus contrast.
In the brain, contrast is king.
So let's bring this all together. What have we learned today?
Yeah.
We learned that the literal first rule is a myth. We don't need to fail at literalness to succeed at irony.
And we learned that paraphrasing kills the magic. You can't swap a metaphor for a literal sentence without losing that emotional data density.
My surgeon is a butcher is not the same as my surgeon is bad.
It's not even close. And we learned that our physical bodies, whether we're standing in a lunch line or riding a train, actually steer how we understand abstract concepts like time.
It leads us to the conclusion that there is no single unified theory of figurative language.
And that's okay, because figurative language isn't just one thing. Irony involves recognizing an echo of someone else's thought. Metaphor involves mapping one domain to another. Idioms involve memory retrieval. It's a complex toolkit.
It's not a single switch, it's a whole dashboard.
Exactly. And this leaves us with a rather provocative thought to end on.
Lay it on us.
We spent this whole time talking about how the brain processes figurative versus literal. But the more we look at the science, the harder it is to pin down what literal actually means.
Right, like brewing or bottom line. The lines get blurry.
Very blurry. So if literal meanings change based on context, based on how often we hear them, based on whether we are moving forward on a train, does literal meaning actually exist in the brain?
Wow.
Or is all language just a series of creative associations we make to understand the world?
Are we ever actually being literal? Or are we just using dead metaphors that we've forgotten our metaphors?
Maybe not. Maybe we are all poets all the time just by speaking.
I love that. We're all accidental poets. I'm going to think about that next time I ask someone to give me a break or hold your horses. Thanks for unpacking this with me.
My pleasure.
And thank you for listening to The Deep Dive. We'll see you next time.